Hello and welcome to the Chapter by Chapter podcast. I'm Ainsley.
And I'm Kiana, and we are your two book-loving besties.
We're glad you've joined us as we turn the page and dive into this week's chapter. Welcome back to Chapter by Chapter.
Yes, we are back this week, end of November, nearly.
Oh my
God. Is it actually, will it technically be December yet? I'm not sure, it'll be very close.
Oh my goodness. And as much as we are wanting to come at you with 100% energy today, we might pick up. I feel like we usually start to pick up.
Yeah, we do.
But I
think knowing today's topic, we'll definitely pick up. So
yeah, we're excited for today's topic. But when I tell you, we've already, well, this is our second attempt at starting this because chaos was ensuing. We're going to get settled and we're in, and we hope you guys are strapping in as well. But the caffeine hasn't quite hit. I haven't had my morning drinky drink. So that's all right. Just bear with us for a sec if we're finding our footing.
We will. We'll get our feet. We're going to talk about our favourite books today. So, it always perks us up a little bit. It's very hot. Mm-hmm. We are in the trenches of the humidity here in Queensland. And it has been a whole week's worth of storms,
if you're
humidity.
Watching visually, my hair looks like I just got out of a tornado because I did try to curl
You were in that storm last night.
I was. There was it looked like the end of the world came over last night.
Zayden was in the atmosphere somewhere.
Zayden, if only he'd come down and, But yeah, it looks like I just had some time with Zayden because my hair is just chaos. It was curled nicely for you all though, but anyway. We just thought, let's get straight into it because we have a lot to talk about today, but let's just quickly touch on, because we haven't, because we're only doing this fortnightly. You guys don't get to see what we're reading every fortnight. So what have you been reading at the moment?
I have been slowly making my way through the second book in the Book of Azrael series. So I'm reading The Throne of Broken Gods, and the title's nearly as long as the book because that book is a brick. And I have been reading physical for most of it as well, and
I'm proud of you for that. That's chunky.
It actually is quite floppy.
Oh, really?
So other than the first maybe 100 pages. So yeah, I'm slowly making my way through that. I've been on night shifts last week, and then I'm back on nights this evening. So I feel like I've just kind of been sporadically reading when I can. But I wasn't a huge lover of the first book in the series. Didn't love the romance and the character dynamic in the first.
Yeah, you were very mid
book.
On that book. Hey? Yeah, I was too. To be fair, when I say that, it was still 4 stars, but it was
it was still a great book. But I just feel like I was annoyed that things were moving very quickly and it's not what I kind of expected. So I think I was the issue in that book. But anyway, this one we've taken a whole new turn. It's very it's a very character driven fantasy book where the world and what we're opening up to in the world is just you're getting little crumbs at once. It's not a huge info dump of the world. So
nice.
You kind of if you don't really connect with the characters or care about the characters, I feel like this would be a really hard series to sink your teeth into.
I think you really when people talk about this series, I feel online, you often hear about them talking about the main couple. It's not often the world or the magic. Not to say that that's not well written, but I think most people are ride or die for this couple in particular. So it's if you're not loving them, that's a rough trot trying to get through that series. I feel like I haven't necessarily been drawn back to the series because I wasn't obsessed with them.
The dynamic for the start of the second book is completely different because of how we ended the first book. So I think that's what I liked. It kind of shook up the dynamic a little bit, and so I preferred to be in that kind of situation with these characters rather than kind of see them jump each other's bones.
Yeah, the whole enemies to lovers.
So yeah, I am about 50% through that, still very much enjoying. We'll hopefully finish that this week before the end of the month. But what have you been reading?
I'm got 2 things always. I like to have an audiobook and I like to have a physical book on the go, and in my TBR I am finishing off the Windy City series, so I have
powered through that. I'm so far back.
1 a month. I've just been it's a little micro dosing every I just know it's one that I can rely on to have a good time to. And this is a dual narration audiobook, which is the only one that she got done dual narration, which
wild of all ones.
I don't know why. Maybe it was she was okay, I can really fork it out for these
maybe
two.
Dual narration was only sort of coming about when this one was written, because it's her latest release.
It's 2025, babe. Surely this has been out for longer. I have no idea.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Weird.
But it's a really fun time. It's very cute. I'm just listening to it, as I drive, as I do housework, that kind of stuff. It's not really one I'm necessarily dedicating and can't wait to get back to. But it's cute. It's sweet. It's a second chance romance, and I'm just savouring my time that I have left with these characters.
I feel like you've had like overall minus the first book, they've been such good. Like we're always going to just
sitting in the
that
corner.
doesn't even count. It's not even part of the series. What are you talking about? I feel like you've had such great like star ratings with this book. I feel like you've really enjoyed book series.
I really enjoyed this series.
I feel like
I have, yeah. And then I don't want to call it serious book because of course romance books are serious, guys, but my physical book that I like really lock in for is The Will of the Many by James Islington, which is a high
That's
fantasy.
the one you have to really lock in for too.
You
It's
gotta
not just
lock
like a
in.
lighthearted like
yeah, she's chonky as well. It's one that's been on my like mental radar for a long time, but now my actual physical radar for about 2 or 3 months, and I'm loving it, guys. I'm loving it. It is
I knew you would. I feel like this book's right up your alley. It's just like that.
And you have a copy too.
Yeah,
so
I
you've
do.
gotta read it.
I meant to be reading it, but I didn't want to start another series. So
Just
anyway,
being
I'll get there.
responsible.
But
It's okay.
I know, making
I'm
responsible decisions at
I
the end of the year.
know.
Who am I?
I know. Look out, 2026. We're going to be responsible readers.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so good. I've only got about 20% in so far, so I can't speak to like whether or not it's like going to be outstanding for the rest of it. But if he keeps going the way that he's going, it's going to be a really, really great series.
Amazing.
Yeah. But
And yeah, there's book 2 to look forward to now.
came out last week, so I'm
Yeah.
going to jump straight onto that one. I'm going to be
That's-
responsible too.
Wow. That's
I
a
know.
lot
It's
of
one-
pages.
It's a lot of pages. When I line up the books that we've read this year, there's going to be a lot of chunky books that I've read this year.
Yeah.
Now that I look back on them,
We've had a
been
lot
doing
of
some
heavy fantasy, epic fantasy, high fantasy reads, which often like are a bit chunkier than your standard romance
Oh, yeah.
books. So
I know.
yeah, I'm not surprised that you've got a few chunkies.
chunky ones. So
The
yeah.
Priory of the Orange Tree is still sitting in your
The
TBR.
Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha something or other, what's her name it? Yeah, that one's going to sit there for a while.
Yeah.
That's going to be a veteran by the end of it. I'll be like 55
The
years
pages
old.
will be as orange as the cover by the time you get around to that book.
It is, yeah.
Anyway, we're getting off track.
We are,
but
because we've got a very exciting episode planned today.
yeah, 2
and-
things. Wait.
Oh,
I've
pause.
got some bookish news that we need to talk about.
Okay.
2 lots of bookish news.
Okay.
Speaking of The Will of the Many, do you want to talk about what just happened this morning?
We woke up today and The Will of the Many has been picked up by Sony for movie rights.
I know.
For book 1 and 2, I believe.
It's going to be so good. I'm picturing June.
I'm
Like,
picturing
very much
June.
picturing
Oh
June,
my,
June,
whatever the hell it's called. Or however you say it. Yeah, June. Just, oh my God.
And Sony. I feel like Sony do really good.
I trust Sony because it's a name that is on everything.
the TV's good. So why do the movies got to be good too?
They make PlayStations, so I mean, it must be
Yeah.
all right. So
Yeah.
I am so excited. When I was reading it, the first thing I thought to myself was, oh my God, this would be such a good TV show.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was just thinking this is so descriptive.
Yeah.
And especially because the cover, the new ones, not the old one that looks, or not the navy blue
Like
and
the self-help
chrome one.
US self-help book it looked like. It literally does look like
I
a
liked it personally, but
I know.
anywho, the new one that looks more like it's an actual sci-fi looking cover,
Yeah.
I was like, God damn, like
Yeah.
give me that in a movie form.
Yeah.
And my
Lo and
thoughts were,
behold,
I literally thought
you
that thought last night.
manifested
I
that.
manifested that. Sony
Yeah.
had nothing to do with it. It was me.
Also, in other bookish
This one, I don't know
adaptation
where you're
news,
going with this one.
Variation by Rebecca Yarros. I don't know it, haven't ever heard of the book, but she also had her book picked up
What
that I
type of
saw
book
this
is it?
morning. It's like a contemporary romance. It's
Variation.
a elite ballet person
Oh, okay.
who has an injury, goes back to her hometown, and she's got some sort of trauma with like this guy that she used to date or something.
Ooh,
And
maybe
then
we need to read it.
his niece shows up at her door and she needs to help her find her mother or something. I don't know. I quickly read the synopsis and I was
Cool.
like, okay, I feel like I could see this as a movie. I mean,
Out of all of her books, that's a random one.
yeah,
I
I'm still
guess.
waiting for the 4th wing casting, but anyway.
I'm still waiting for literally anything on
But that was picked up by Amazon.
Who?
Like huge
Oh, the-
Amazon.
the
yeah,
new one though?
Yep.
Okay. I thought you meant-
Variation. Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting news.
Yeah.
Never heard of it
I think
before.
it's called Variation.
She has a very long backlist.
Yeah,
though, so
she does.
It doesn't surprise me that I haven't heard about it.
And
I'll be
apparently
totally
it's
honest.
like it's Amazon plus Barack Obama's like production something. I
It's a
don't
side
know.
quest. Oh my
It's
God.
weird. I don't know. I was reading it and I was like, okay, whatever, pop off.
His to-do list, run the country, finish that off, and then might just open up a production company. What?
Something to do with production. It was like, yeah, anyway, there was a big announcement about it this morning. But yeah, big news.
That's
in
fun.
the
Look at you
bookish
coming in
world.
with the news, like
I know.
teleprompter.
Oh
Okay.
my God.
That's
I
very
know.
exciting
anyway,
stuff.
Okay, let's get into this week's episode because we are going to be here yapping about our
Forever. In the best way.
favorite books. Our books that make up our DNA,
Yeah.
our bookish DNA who we are as people,
pillars of who we are as readers, because I feel like we've often done like recommendations within genres, or we've talked about ranking books that are popular, but this is like a reintroduction because we do obviously have a bit of a larger audience than when we first did something even remotely similar. So we thought we'd like reintroduce ourselves as all of the books that really would be like, if you looked at our resume or cracked our brain open, what are the books that make up our taste in books, basically, and who we are as readers.
You know, that's like the TikTok video, and it's like books you would save in a fire if your house was burning down. This would be kind of like that.
Yeah. This is kind of like core memory moments of like who we now are,
or
as
books
readers.
that like we wish we could read again for the first time, because they're just anyway,
just
they're gonna be
those
timeless
really ones, and we tried to narrow it down. I can't say I did the best job at narrowing it down.
I was very strict, and I feel like I didn't really give strict instructions to this. I did give you a template, and you kind of just blew the template open and was like, I'm just gonna add an extra like 5 to 7 books to this template.
We'll see how the template goes. I tried to conform my list to the template, but we'll see.
Ainsley's had a big reading year this year, so asking her to like pick 5 or 6 of her ultimate books and then like having a few like honorable mentions as well is an impossible task. So anyway, you've kind of like worked your way around the rules, but we'll see how we go. You know, all of these. I did
cull a lot.
Yeah, so I did.
I culled a lot. So we're going to try and narrow it down. Do you want to first though talk a little about, so you guys can kind of know what lens we're looking at this through? We're going to give you like a little bit of a synopsis on like who we are, I guess, as readers, because as much as we have a lot in common as readers, we also look at, I guess, or maybe are drawn to slightly different topics, or we really take from books maybe something, or we value certain things being in books that the other person maybe isn't as high of a priority. So I thought we could like explain a little bit of like who we are as readers separately. Yeah.
Do you want to start, because you wrote something down for this and I didn't?
I can do that. I came prepared, and I think we'll kind of
follow on from that.
Yeah, of course. So we had kind of like 3 questions we were asking ourselves, and it was good as like a little reflection task as just like a reader as well. Like,
I didn't do this part of the homework, but I'm pretty sure I know who I am as a reader at this point. So
she's got a good idea of self-identity. So the first one was like, what do I look for in a book? Like, is there something specific that I'm looking for? And as much as I do go often like open-minded, and I will try pretty much most things, but I think I ultimately, when I look back on my favorite stories and the ones that stick with me, they're books that really take me on a journey, whether that be emotional, whether it be like literally 2 people going in like different worlds. Depends, because obviously trying to compare fantasy and romance is a little tricky, and what you're wanting out of them, because they are serving up such different dishes. But I think just something that really transports you and takes you through arcs of characters, emotions, different worlds, whatever it may be. But I want to feel immersed in an experience.
I think that's what I was going to say as well, is when I am looking at what I look for in books, I want to feel like I'm immersed in the story. I want to feel like I'm like part of the story almost. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm a third person just kind of going through the motions reading it. I want to feel like I'm the main character, is probably what I'm trying to say. Not necessarily the main character, but like maybe like that friend on the side that I'm like, okay, I'm friends with these characters, or I'm kind of like going on this journey with you, or whatever it may be, because I feel like there's a huge difference for me between like a 4-star book and a 5-star book, and often it's just like my connection to the actual story, the characters, and feeling like I'm kind of like a part of that world. But
I think
more
that's
than
kind
of like the main
that's
thing
like
that
the distinguishing factor is definitely like how much I feel like I was along for it, which is going to be subjective depending on how much you click with the story and the writing and whatnot. But then we were also asking ourselves, like, were there particular themes or genres that we are drawn to more, or that we value being in the books? And I had a few things that I realized a lot of my books had in common, and a lot of them are fantasy based, because I do probably rate fantasies on average higher. I have a better time often with fantasies, but I really like...
I feel like you just get more from fantasy.
I do, And we're going to see that when we do the little breakdown. But I really like to this is obviously across all genres. I like to like walk a minute in someone else's shoes.
Yeah.
If I can experience the world through like another lens that I never would have otherwise gotten a chance to, or like experience a type of falling in love that I never would in my own personal life because it's in the 80s or it's whatever it is, or you know, they're a goblin or something like that. Like it's a different sort of scenario that
they're Fae and they live for 2,000 years, and you're like, oh well, that's never going to be
me. They're on horseback trying to return the ring to Mordor. Like I would never experience that.
Wow, they get to ride a dragon on their day-to-day life. Oh my god.
I know, lightning and everything. It's crazy. So that's something that I often look for is like if I look at the back of a book and I can go, wow, this sounds like an interesting life that I want to live almost, or like, oh, I want to experience. Yeah. That's a theme or a genre I guess I look for. Another thing is I am a sucker for books that like unpick society or like I could have nailed this. I feel like you always anyway, you explain because you're so good at this.
Specifically,
I guess corrupt ones because everything's kind of fucking corrupt, let's be so real. But books that like have a little bit of either a takedown story of a world or a system and then a rebuild of something better. Yeah. There is something, I think, whether it gives me a sense of hope in this world, something about it, just like these people kind of just really going to the ends of the earth to try and still see good in a society and seeing the bad guys kind of get what was coming to them. I don't know. There's something about it that like it really, and I think I like the way it makes me look at our world differently. Yeah. There's always something in those types of storylines that really make me look at my own life or our own systems or our country or different countries and how we got to be where we are, that I go, oh, that's like why I feel the way I do about that. So it helps me explain my own brain to myself sometimes because I'm like, oh,
that's great though.
Yeah. Do you have a few that you want to chuck in here?
I feel like when I am looking at like what I want to read and I guess what is the main books that draw my attention, I think the main thing, kind of what you were kind of skirting around the bush about, is the escapism is the main thing. Like obviously like on a day-to-day basis, I like in my job, for example, I'm living a pretty hectic life. It's very realistic. It's raw. It's human. So when I like want to read, I kind of want to escape that. Just feel all the feelings, just be with certain characters, I do love some positivity, but I also do love getting around to like the nitty gritty, kind of breaking down your feelings and kind of what drives people, I think. And just seeing like, I think mainly I'm like a character driven person, so it's kind of following along with characters and what I feel like. If I'm not really enjoying characters in a story, I'm probably not enjoying the story itself. I know they're a huge part, but to me I can't really just like overlook that. So escaping with these characters is probably the main things I do look for in stories in particular. I'm not necessarily someone that goes in looking for meaning behind like political meaning, I guess, or like trying to like relate it to our real world. I do really enjoy the books like those when I read it, when they do have the slight undertones of like what's going on in society. Like I really do love that comparison when it's done in a way that's like in a fantasy world or something as well. Like
it's not too like in your face, but it's more subtle. So
I would say I'm probably more of like I say I'm more of a fantasy reader, but I feel like this year I've been very much a romance reader. So I don't know if it's just like the what's the word I'm looking for?
I think there's a real comfort for you in being able to feel and connect so closely. And sometimes if there is a lot of, and not to say that you don't love a heavy plot or magic and system, but I think sometimes when you're just looking for a reprieve, if you're having to wade through a lot of world building and magic and like there's a lot between each interaction between these characters, sometimes you're just like, I just want to feel a part of and connected with these people, and I can't do that when there's, you know, worlds and leagues and wars going on all the time. So I feel like that's maybe why you've been looking more towards romance, because there is just something very comforting and very homely.
It's like putting on your favorite TV show at the end of the day. Like when I've come home from a busy work week or a busy work day where I'm literally brain dead, picking up a big, deep, dark fantasy book is just not something I'm able to do. So I feel like because this year has been so full on, I've just needed to turn to things that are more comforting, easier to read, just something that kind of like satisfies the like guilty pleasure, I suppose, in me more so. And that's like hard because I love fantasy. I absolutely adore fantasy worlds and series. It's just that if I can't fully immerse myself in it and give myself time to like binge read books like in series like over and over, like back to back, I find I'm taken out of the world so much much that I find it hard to want to pick up the next
and
book.
really
so
love it.
yeah, like I feel like when I think of my favorite fantasy series, it's taking me back to those days when we kind of would read series back to back. So I am really missing that. And it's certainly a core part of my bookish personality.
When we started the year, we kind of thought, let's deep dive into fantasy, let's do that. But sometimes it's like just different seasons, and I feel like your season was unexpected this year. I mean, both of us have obviously had lots going on, but your seasons have been emotionally taxing in lots of ways. And so sometimes that's not the right time to be then tackling it's like it shouldn't feel like work. And I think for you, it's been lovely to see you love all these and they're not like uncomplicated, and they're not any less important. They're making you feel something that you need right now, which I think is so important to be able to know when you do and don't want to feel certain things. So I feel like it's just like you're intuitively
like
reading.
The ease of reading is easier when you're reading a romance versus fantasy. It's not that I don't want to read fantasy. It's just like, in terms of brain power that I need, like when I'm trying to read a fantasy, I'm trying to understand the world. I'm trying to break down the characters. Like, you know, at the end of the day at 11 o'clock when I finish work of a night time, I'm not going to want to do that. Yeah. You know, so like a comfort read, romance read is just absolutely where I'm going to be. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's like, I feel like this is where I guess, because the last bit was kind of more like, what do we get out of reading, and where are we similar and where do we differ in our, like, what we get out of books or what we like. And I feel like we approach, I guess, our enjoyment of characters a bit differently is like what I was kind of sitting on, is that I think I come at it from like, I guess, an analytical brain, or maybe like a curiosity brain of like, I want to understand why people are the way they are in a really... I don't know. I just like,
what makes them tick? You just want to figure out.
And even if that's the villain or that is something, like, I actually love just complex, really, like, maybe they're unlikable, maybe they are whatever they are. Like, I do love, don't get me wrong, I love me a cozy romance. I love me a feel good, because sometimes that's all I need too. Like, your girl sometimes just wants to have a fun time as well. Yeah. But I think that's what I get out of the fantasy books, is when they're complicated. I love knowing why people turn out the way they turn out, because often the writers are obviously basing it off human behavior at the end of the day. And I mean, your girl was going to study behavioral science at uni. So like those sort of things makes me tick, like going, okay, that's how certain people will like behave, and like dynamics between people and stuff like that. Like I just I'm like a sponge for that. I feel
like I more care about maybe just more so the dynamic between people and the group, like whether it be like a found family. Like one example is I'm always loving a like humorous side character. Like I always will be downright bad for a humorous side character.
Whereas that's not usually my fave.
I just like that bit of lightheartedness, like in the actual, like, I guess, deep dark doom of what a fantasy series normally is.
Absolutely.
But I feel like when it comes to like, I don't necessarily need to know what makes these characters tick, or like the ins and outs of who they are as people. I more so like to follow along with their journey and like their character development more rather than like the like nitty gritty ins and outs of who they are as people. Like I'll kind of just be like, okay, I'll accept them as is and I'll follow them along and see how they change through their journey in this story, rather than like analyze them. I'll analyze the world and the magic system, but not necessarily the people. I guess is probably the way I see fantasy and how we kind of differ in that a little bit.
Because I couldn't really think of, like, we have so many similarities which I can't like put into words per se, because it's just like a feeling we do just have.
We do get a lot of feelings,
very similar
like,
tastes. Because God, how boring would it be if we sat here and just disagree with everything the other person said the entire time? They'll be like, I hated that, I loved that, or everything was But oftentimes if we talk about a book, we'll be able to like give you a review that is like very different, but it will be the same rating. Like so that's really fun to be able to know where those are. And I feel like sometimes it's hard to word exactly what it is that's different about what we got out of it. But that's just the joy of having two people who have very different lives coming into the same
personalities,
thing.
grown up
the fun of art being subjective, which is like so much fun.
I'm glad we very much like still enjoy the same books. Like if we differed too much, it would be so hard.
It'd just be hard to connect, really. Like if I only read strictly historical fiction and I don't know, just sci-fi or just thrillers, it would be kind of like we couldn't really recommend things to each other. We couldn't really like fangirl over things together or get excited over releases together. It would kind of just be like, okay, I'm glad you're having a good time. That sounds great. I'll never read that. But no, I think definitely I've read a lot of romance this year, but I think my highlights nearly always end up being the fantasies, I think.
I think you're top tier. Like, I think you've probably had 1 5-star romance book, but...
Yeah, 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I think that's the way. I don't know. I find a lot of romances will sit in that, like, 4-star category, but it takes a bit for it to really sink into the 5-star.
Yeah.
But
anyway, that's kind of like a bit of background as us as readers and how we differ. And you'll probably see that when we're talking about what books kind of make up our personality or our DNA as well. Like, we will get into the crux of that. But because you have so many, do you want to start with your like first...
Yeah, we can do that
first
for sure.
book.
I think we've laid our setups of how we're going to explain things a little bit differently, but hopefully this still just makes sense by the end of it. I hope so, because...
I mean, the title is They Make Up Our Personality. Yeah. So...
Now, I'm going to get the basic bitch one out of the way just first, because it's there. It's the elephant in the room with us, because it is the series that I think really solidified my love for fantasy, and that is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. And I am just like every other girl. That series is phenomenal, and it was very foundational to me realizing that I loved fantasy the way that I do, because I don't think prior to that, beyond like reading Divergent and Maze Runner and Twilight, I probably hadn't really thought of reading. I had read ACOTAR prior to it, but I hadn't really thought of me as like a fantasy reader. I kind of just thought that was that's for other people. I didn't really think it was going to be for me, but this was the first series that really like, I went, okay, well, what else is there? If this is what it can make me feel, what else is there?
You're kind of looking for other books that relate similarly to this. Like, you're like, this is what I want to read. I guess because like when you start reading, you're just like trying to explore, like, what do I enjoy? Like, I don't know who I am as a reader.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're like trying all these different...
And it was quite different tonally to Sarah J. Maas's other series, ACOTAR, which, I mean, do I even need to say? Because it's a little less heavy on the romance and it was a little more on the plot. So for me, I was just experiencing...
A little less. Girl, we got crumbs. We got crumbs. Through like how many books?
And so, it was interesting for me to go from ACOTAR, which is fairly... Like, I would call it a romantasy. I think it's like the poster child for romantasy, and then experiencing something with less but still realizing I enjoyed it the same, if not significantly more. And it was just, I would call it like a foundational core center of who I am as a reader, just with what I will forever remember as like the best part of my reading ever. Like, I'll always be so grateful to it. And I love that it also had just such a wide cast. It got me used to being like following multiple storylines at the same time, caring about multiple different plot points at the same time. And she just had a way of really making me so engaged with things that would start in book 1 and slowly being excited to see how they played out throughout 3 or 4, 5, 6 books later. Like, it was a slow, like, you had to work for that. You really had to like sing for your supper for that series. So I think that's just why it is so core to me, is just that I committed and I was so okay with the page count. I was okay to just back to back to back. It was one of the only series that I probably read 7 books in a row without questioning that was not crazy. But I think I read the whole series within like 4 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks.
Wild.
It was in lockdown, so I didn't.
Wow. There you go.
So it was just like the only thing I was doing, and there are so many complex characters, so many character arcs, so many character journeys, so many plot twists, and also I just had never read any fantasy like that, so everything was brand new. So that's just gonna forever have its own spot that I don't think anything will be able to dethrone, and I think a lot of people feel that way too.
No pun intended.
Yeah, true. True. I don't think people will be too crazy. I don't talk about it a ton because it just feels like such a no-brainer answer, but it's there. It's
I feel like it's one of those series I think it's so ingrained in our soul that we're just like, do we even need to talk about it? Like, I feel like she is just the standard for fantasy for most people.
I know, and it feels so repetitive to be like, and we recommend ACOTAR. Like, it's just very like, if you haven't done it, read Throne of Glass. Like, I feel like everyone and their dog has heard of it or read it at this point. So that is 100%. I just needed to get that one out of the way.
And I feel like it's one as well that you will reread, and you don't reread. And I know you want to read. I feel like because it is so extensive and intricate, you will get something different out of the series every single time that you read it. And I think the more you read it, I feel like you're going to realize how much more of a masterpiece it actually is. Because like, I know when I first read Throne of Glass, I kind of was just not trying to like put the pieces together. I was just kind of going along for the journey. And I really did like how detailed. Like, I think I read Assassin's Blade, for example, 4th, I think. I don't know when you read it.
I read it first.
Yeah. So like just seeing like parts of that, which was like, you know, it can be a first book that you read, just how that is so important for later books in the series, and how it's just done so well too. Like, I know good. Like some of the fantasy books that we read these days, it's kind of just like you don't understand why something's been plotted where it is. Like, it doesn't make sense to be plotted there, but hers is so woven into the story that everything is just so perfectly plotted.
It really is. It's
sensational.
It's also the only completed series she's given us so far, so we can't compare her other series yet, because maybe we'll feel the same way about ACOTAR in 40 years when she finishes it.
Yeah, if we ever get there.
Yeah.
But speaking of, I'm gonna put ACOTAR and I think that's like, you would probably know that I'd put ACOTAR. Yeah. Picking a favorite SJM series to put as like your personality, like I would 100% put Throne of Glass and ACOTAR, but I need to be realistic and give other books a chance, because but yeah, like so many of you, ACOTAR was like literally my first like fantasy series that I've ever read, and it just shaped who I was as a reader. It opened my eyes and world to this whole universe that I didn't know existed. Like I kind of had always picked up like romance books or like a few self-help books or whatever it may be, and I always saw reading as like a task rather than for enjoyment. I think is probably because like I'd went through uni and reading was like, it was
compulsory.
It wasn't something
required.
I did. It was required reading. It wasn't by choice. So I think it just opened up my eyes to like how, I guess like a lot of the movies and TV shows I loved as a kid were books as well. So it, you know, it just reminded me of like being that again and just getting to know these worlds. And particularly with ACOTAR, I think it was the first time I'd really experienced like found family in a series. And yeah, I just think it shapes the core foundation of what I love in fantasy series. Yeah. I'm not a huge romantasy reader currently. I've been a little hit and miss with that genre as of late, because I feel like everything is a rinse and repeat of trying to be ACOTAR. But I feel like when I first started reading, and I'd never experienced anything like that before, it is like such a high and great place to start that a lot of other things just will never compare. Yeah. And just getting to know.
She does it well. She just does that, especially that found family feeling and just, the way that dynamic of that whole book. I don't want to say names or anything in case there's someone out there who hasn't read it, but they really do such a good job. Like, she does an insane job of having you feel so in love with the locations, the people, the plot. Like, it feels like family. It really does feel like family.
Yeah, I know. And you just like, I think when I think back to this series, I just don't have any negative feelings. Like, a lot of like fantasy series I'm reading now, I'm like, I can see like things that I didn't really enjoy about it, or maybe I didn't connect to the story as well as I did. But for this series, I just remember being like sucked into the book, and I don't think I come up for air until I'd finished. And it was like one of those times where like I'd only bought like the first book of the series, and then I had to go to the bookshop and buy like the second book, and then I had to go back and buy the third book. And it's just like, because I was like, oh, okay, I'm starting this and I don't know if I'm actually going to like it. And this was kind of around the time that like TikTok was just starting to become a thing. I wasn't really deep into the BookTok world yet, so it was all very new and very fresh, and it was just so immersive. And the way that I can just so deeply picture so many things in that like world and story, and just
it's ingrained. It feels like I've been there. That's the level of like immersion.
I would do anything to go to Valaris for a night or two, but anyway, or be captured by a High Lord or whatever it may be. But
I'll take one for the team. If someone must be captured, I will do it.
But yeah, I think just like, and it's also one of those series where there's so many different but necessary characters. Like, you don't have a whole group of people where they're all the same sort of person. Like, they're all very necessary to the story. You get a bit of lighthearted humor, you get a lot of banter, you get someone who's a bit more serious or a bit more lighthearted, and then like, you know, you get other like monsters and things that are also funny but, you know, like serious. Like, it's just, there's so many aspects of this that are just so enjoyable, and there's a reason that this book is so popular. The rating, I have never looked at the rating on Goodreads. 4.61
for which book?
For Akamath.
Wow.
My favorite book is A Court of Mist and Fury. I think I got so carried away I didn't actually tell you guys that, but this Akamath is rated for, so A Court of Mist and Fury is rated 4.61, I think it was, with 3 million ratings.
That's
and
insane.
I'm just like, I don't think I've ever looked at 4.64 with over 3 million reviews.
Crap.
So I'm like, there's a reason.
Yeah,
you know,
that's the thing. It's like it's popular for a reason. Like we're basic for a reason. Like we are that.
Oh yeah, you'll learn I'm very basic.
Okay.
But there's a reason.
There is a reason that these things are popular. So my next one, this is where it all starts to go downhill very quickly. I really
uphill. We're going uphill. We're not going downhill. These are all
my organisation skills go downhill.
Okay,
but okay, my
fine.
not my recommendations, my representations of myself. I'm combining two here because I think
you want to break the rules, and that's
they're
fine.
the only romance ones I think off the top of, there's one other, sorry. These two though, I feel like I have the same takeaways and the same things that I love, and these are two romance books of a very small pool of 5-star romance reads. And I'm not trying to be annoying with that. It really takes a lot for me to go, wow, I don't have any notes. And so I'm going to put them together, even though they are quite different, but the feelings I got were the same. So just run with me here. Is Out on a Limb, which I think we both have
that
for,
yeah,
and Play Along, which is a new edition.
It's so crazy to me because I haven't experienced Play Along yet, so I'm
waiting.
waiting.
By Hannah Bonam-Young and Play Along by Liz Tomforde. So sorry, I just forgot to say the authors' names, but yeah, you haven't read that one yet.
No,
and I hope you love it because otherwise this is going to be really sad. But there is something about these two books, and I don't even know if they have a lot of... They do. They have a lot in common in the dynamic between the two main characters, and I think that it's a very grounded, wholesome, healthy love, which I think is obviously what you want. That's bare bones. That's like bars on the ground, like these two like each other.
Sometimes it's fun to not read a healthy romance, but like where we are in life and how we're feeling and in our relationships, I think like it's what we're wanting to read.
Yeah, it very much so. I feel like both of these are where they have to like develop a relationship from like whether it be circumstances or whatnot. Both of them kind of like have to kind of figure out if they can work together. Yeah. And the way that they both do, I think there is so much like grace, so much patience, so much love, so much humor in these relationships as well, where it really feels like these are like close or best friends or, you know, like developing friends first, and there's so much respect, and then they're building a love on top of that. And I think there's just something about both of these stories that, I don't know, there's something special in both of them that all the other ones I don't know if I can say the same about, where it's like I would... Play Along is a book that I regularly think about, just like I would reread it. I would say I like Play Along borderline more than Out on a Limb. They're very...
Okay.
I just love that book so much, and I don't know, they're also show men not being afraid to show emotion as well, and I think that is like a big thing. You get a lot of in romance, a lot of like alpha male, very tough, like it's only, you know, the one breaking point where they'll finally, you know, even say a thing other than just growling and, you know, snarling. So I think it's
being like grumpy and mean and just like avoiding having a conversation. I feel like we get a lot of those
in like Grumpy Sunshine dynamics, whereas these are both people with just open, vulnerable, like loving men, and I just love that. I absolutely love that they have healthy masculinity.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. It's like it's healthy masculinity, but it's also healthy communication. I don't know about Play Along. Like I don't know what Play Along is like.
Super
because I haven't read
open
it.
communication, regular touching base with one another. Like it's just, and like paying attention to like what the other person needs and like all that kind of jazz. Very, very like they're just very in tune with one another at all times. And there is just something about that I'm just like, I don't like,
It's just so like real and raw, and like when it comes down to like actual relationships, for example, like you're never gonna be like 50-50 in a relationship. Like, and I feel like particularly when I read Out on a Limb, it's kind of like you work well as a team is the main thing, and obviously that's what we're kind of seeing like in the development of that story, is they have to work together as a team now, and you know you have to lean on one another because that's what you do when you're a couple or whatever's going on in the dynamic in building this relationship. Like it's just kind of like compromising, but also like, you know, standing up for yourself, but compromising in a way that it builds your relationship as a team. You're growing together, and that is like the foundation of growing like a perfect not a perfect, but
a well-functioning relationship. Yeah, because I think there are a lot of relationships that we read about in romance books where I'm going, they'll divorce in like 6 months because it's all built
this epilogue that you get of them married with 3 kids. Like, I can't see that happening.
Yeah, there's so many where I'm like, these guys have not had to go through a single thing together.
Yeah.
And like, I can tell that they would just fall apart the second that one of them like doesn't, get their way. So yeah, anyway, these two are just like couples that I go, these guys would be married with as old people, and I could just see myself in both of the female and main characters, which probably has something to do with it as well. So anywho, they are, I don't know what I'd call, I guess comfort. Like, I guess it would be like my comfort portion.
Yeah.
I think it's my comfort. It's like if I were to reread a book other than Throne of Glass, I think I would reread like Play Along, because it just feels like home. And they also both have like good support systems, so it just feels like you're meeting a whole group of friends, and it's just very, very, very lovely.
Yeah, I feel like the only thing I really need to add to that is that I guess like when I'm reading romance books, yes, I love like a fluffy, fun, like somewhat spicy time when I do read romances, but when romance books really hit for me is where you do get a lot of that emotional connection to the characters and you can see them working well as a couple. And I laughed so fucking much during this book. Like, it was actually insane how much I
laughed out loud in that. And I cried in both as well. Now that I think about it. So
I think I cried too, but like I visually remember it being like 2 a.m. and I was like giggling so loud. And like normally I'll like kind of like have a laugh to myself, but I was like giggling out loud so much. In between there being so much emotion and realness to everything that's going on, and it just felt like so perfect too. It wasn't like cheesy, it wasn't like because
that can so often happen. It's like cheesy or like completely outlandish situations where you're like, okay, it makes for a funny story, but like there's zero relatability going on here. But those two, I mean, well, yours as well, Out on a Limb specifically, you're kind of going, this feels almost as grounded as you can get in a situation that's like that is still entertaining.
Would be a great movie though. I feel like it would be a great movie.
It would really, someone needs to get onto that like ASAP. But absolutely agree. Why don't you do another, because you didn't really get to fully talk about one, so why don't you go on to your next?
Okay, I'm gonna go into my next one, which is another fantasy book, and I don't really know like what category I'd put this into. And when I think about trying to explain the synopsis and what really happened in this book, it goes right over my head, but I know when I read it, it was absolute perfection in my mind, and it is When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker.
Okay.
Because and it's one of those books that, one, we'd never read any books by her before, and I remember reading this, and it was just another of those, like, it had transformed my, not necessarily reading, but it kind of solidified what I love in a fantasy book and fantasy series. And I just feel like it's one of those that I feel like I could reread over and over and over again and just completely enjoy the story, enjoy the characters. And it's just going to be one that I feel like I'm going to enjoy for the rest of the time, pretty much. But
it is one that is a very difficult book to say a synopsis of, but I can 100% see that being, it was very like formative in as you said, like solidifying. I feel like we all read it at a similar time as well.
We did,
and it was a very, very well written. It's beautiful writing as well.
It is,
which I think is something that we really appreciate when it's there.
I feel like we probably appreciated more, not necessarily flowery writing, but more like lyrical, and with lots of beautiful
shit that I can underline,
like the annotating, like things that you like know will just like stick with you. I feel like we've really enjoyed books like that, particularly this year. But
it's very whimsical.
I did read it last year, I think it was. I was waiting for book 2 this year and we didn't get it. So, but yeah, I don't think there's necessarily any like certain bits that stick out to me and I'm like, God, I really latched onto that. But overall, as a fantasy book or fantasy romance book, it was just chef's kiss to me. Like, I just loved the characters. I just remember falling so head over heels in love for Khan. Oh, and I even liked Rave. Is that how you say her name?
Rave, yeah.
I really liked her as a female main character as well. Like, she wasn't kind of like too angry and aggressive, but she also wasn't too much of a pushover. She was kind of like strong in like what she believed in, I suppose, and what she was doing. And it was like this nice, happy medium. It wasn't trying to be too much of one end of the scale, which I feel like we find in a lot of fantasy books. Yeah, I feel like it kind of similar to like Aelin, I suppose, in Throne of Glass, but But yeah, I just found it just so timeless in my mind that I just will always want to reread this.
It's always one that I feel like
we
talk about. Like, that it's one of our favorites.
Like, I feel like it's more of like a fantasy romance book as well. It's got quite a bit of romance in it. And I really
definitely the second half,
I really just loved how that was like woven into the story. I feel like was so beautifully done, and the pacing of that and how it was kind of like revealed was just so beautiful that I'm pretty sure I cried in this as well, and laughed and cried and annotated the crap out of it and wanted to reread it as soon as I finished it. So I just think it was one of those stories that just truly transported me. I wanted to ignore everything else in the world to just like be with these characters and in this story for quite a long time. And it's unusual because I feel like a lot of fantasy books that I read, or fantasy series, I love series that have like a group of characters, like a found family group. There's not. There's just kind of like these two main characters. There's a couple of other characters, but they're not like hugely significant like with these main characters.
They're not main focal points at all. Yeah.
So, and I feel like I can see how things are going to go into book 2 as well. Like, I can see, like, you weren't kind of just left with a cliffhanger ending and just being like, I have no idea where this could go in book 2. I feel like you could very easily visualize like, oh, I'm really so ingrained in this story that I can see this being, even more perfect going into book 2.
Awesome choice. My next one is The Sword of Kaigan by M.L. Wang.
I was waiting for an M.L. Wang book to pop up in your like top books of all time.
Of like the epitome of what I love to read in epic high fantasy, this book did in one. Like, it's a standalone, and I get to nerd out a bit in books like these where I want them to throw the hard vocab at me. I want them to throw a complex system. I want them to... M.L. Wang was like, because it was a prequel technically, it was actually to set up for a whole series that she's abandoned.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
wow.
But it still very much reads great by itself.
Yeah.
But I could tell where she was really expanding this world, and then she never really like fully I guess led on. And I went, oh, okay, so we know all about this world, but we're not really talking about it.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a whole ass series, so that explains it.
Right.
And she just said she didn't have the full passion behind it to really flesh it out beyond the standalone. But this book is just, it's a brain stretcher because you really have to take your time to get to know. It's like so more like the glossary is so long, and the way that, because it's a Japanese inspired fantasy, the way that they refer to every character will change depending on who's speaking to the character, because in Japanese traditional culture it's very like respect based, so it's like your station compared to the other person, so like whether they're your master, if you're above or below them in society, and if you're at home with your personal life versus outwardly. Like, we have Mr., Miss, all that sort of stuff. They have like 12 different variations, so it took a long time.
Yeah.
But this book was just so unique in its plot structure because it doesn't hit the similar beats of like learning the magic system, learning what the conflict is, something happening, and then you resolve, and then it's all happily ever after.
Yeah.
The main thing happens like halfway through. So it's really interesting on what it's choosing to like focus on, and the female main character in this, and that was one thing that I didn't actually touch on in what I look for, is when you get to experience a really smart, capable like female main character, there is something so powerful in that, and it doesn't even need to necessarily be a like physically powerful person, because this female main character isn't necessarily, like, she is very capable physically, but it's almost in her restraint and in the way that she is like very calculating that she is able to be so amazing. And so Misaki will forever be one of my favorite main characters, full stop, that I've ever read about. She is just phenomenal. And the magic system is also just like Avatar The Last Airbender, so it's like very like water wielding or like ice wielding, and the way that they do it is so much more complex because it's very like specific, turning ice shards into being so thin and whatever that a person wouldn't even feel it penetrating into their heart kind of thing, but it would kill them. So it's like, it's really intense, but the way that this looks into like tradition and like, misogyny in societies that stay really traditional and they don't really evolve with the rest of the times, because this is like a small Japanese fishing town. But Oh my God, it's so cool. One of the best action sequences, if not the best action sequence I have ever read, was in this. And it wasn't even like, it was more emotional. I cried during it because not because of just like a death, but just because of how like beautiful, which is such a weird word to use for it. It is such a fucking good book. Like, oh my God, everything about it. I was just like, this is what this has got all the ingredients in the kitchen that I want to be used in my favorite.
Can you not tell with how passionate you are in comparison to talking about other books? You're like, I will die on this hill for this book.
Yeah, I think this was just like the part of my personality that loves. And also there was a lot of political commentary as well. A lot of like, you know, what do you tell people to give them hope? What do you tell people that will actually make them lose hope? Where does tradition kind of help? So there's a lot of those sort of like societal questions that like itches that scratch that I have.
I feel like too with like a lot of fantasy books in particular, you love when the world like makes sense. You hate when there's like little plot holes and you're like, I know we've like mentioned this, but you've not kind of told me how it works or how it functions. And so I feel like because you kind of see those things, like you're kind of looking at the ins and outs of how the actual world
catches
itself
my eye,
works, whereas I'm kind of like, what are you talking about? Like I have no idea. But I feel like when you like downright love like typical like epic fantasies or high fantasy or whatever it may be that are sitting in your 6-star category, it's like everything makes sense and everything's kind of tied together in a way that you don't have any questions left. I think is probably the
I feel like I can tell that the author knows their story inside out, back to front. They have made sure, and like I could tell the passion, like I could feel how passionate she was writing it. So anyway, that is one of my very core or pillar
I don't know
books.
How I'm gonna back that up now. Mine just wow.
No,
it's crazy.
It's no,
I just want to listen to you talk about your books all the time.
No, we have like, I love the beauty of what you bring to like what you get out of some books, because sometimes it makes me enjoy books more after you explain what you liked out of it, because sometimes I'm like, okay, I was a little harsh on that, and I'm like, actually that was a good point. I actually really liked that was actually really sweet now that you mentioned it. So
I think I just can ignore things a little bit more, or just like selective choosing what I decide to like focus on, because there's some points I go super hard on some things and you're like, really, that was what bugged you out of the story.
You'll ride hard for some things where you're like, there is no redeemable qualities, and it will just be one thing that I'll be like going, babes, do you reckon we could just like just put that aside for a bit, because the rest of it you're enjoying like dead to me.
You're like, this is it, we are done, we are over. I don't hold a grudge. What are you talking about?
I'm blocking this book's contact, like it's just
I'm not a Taurus, what are you talking about?
Girlie's stubborn when she wants to be.
Anyway, I'm going to take a complete different turn, and this is like another side of my soul that we're exploring now, and I'm going to say Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh.
I was wondering if this was going to make it,
and you're like, that's a choice.
No, this is a great example though where we differ. Like, this series is not for me, but it's so key. Like, it's so key. It's
part of it. I feel like I've reached the point where I probably don't want to continue the series.
Okay,
but
that's fair. The first four, would you say? The first four, like, whereas I'm just like, I love that for you. So this is where I like hearing your thoughts on things like this though, because I get to appreciate it through your lens. I
think this is where we're getting to the point where it's hitting my emotional devastation in my soul that I love to tackle, because I'm such like a sentimental, like emotional person at my heart and core that I feel like this just like the hero acts that we get in this for like people that are like saving character, like physically saving people, and they're changing their life for the better, that very much a hero complex. I guess we're seeing
in your line of work as well, as much as I know you like to escape when you read, I do think there is elements of like what you love seeing in characters you're going, I can relate to wanting to help, to save, to better, to be there for people as well. So I feel like that element is like a little bit in there of like where you go, wow, I just love when people really are there for the people who need them, most vulnerable. So like you're going, I do that on a daily and I get paid to do it. So
I think it just like comes down to like being so empathetic too. So it's just like, I feel like I'm feeling these feelings and that for these characters like all the time, and I'm just like, wow, like when you are getting those moments where characters or families or whatever it is are literally changing the entire life for a better, like for better for these like characters and whatever in the story. I feel like it's just such a beautiful thing to experience, and I love books that make me cry, and this I don't think I've sobbed as hard as I have reading probably Keeping 13. I don't think I sobbed as much during like Saving and Redeeming 6. I definitely enjoyed those, but I definitely didn't cry as much as I did. And I feel like when it comes to my favorite books of all time, if I didn't put a book on there that just made me absolutely sob and be emotionally destroyed, it wouldn't be a book for me. Like, it wouldn't be that's part of my personality as a reader.
Part of you.
As much as I have been kind of avoiding that lately, I think I definitely feel like there's certain moments where it just like hits me to my core. It like stabs me in the chest and just makes me feel so much. And I think that's probably the main thing, is I just love feeling lots of feelings sometimes when I read. Like, sometimes I read to escape and not feel things and just like, you know, watch a movie in my brain of like these characters going on their journey, and other times I read to feel lots. And this series in particular by Chloe Walsh is one that will make you feel so many things, not necessarily good things all the time, because it's a lot. Lots of trigger warnings. Draining. It's very emotionally devastating and impacting, but again, my job is on a daily basis. I put that in, compartmentalize that. I'm choosing to be emotionally devastated by this series. It's different.
I'm opting in, not forced in.
So yeah, I think, and just like when I think of these characters, again, it is such a found family. It's another one of those scenarios. Like, obviously I'm such a character driven person. I've said it many, many a times. And if you don't fall in love with these characters, like, you will fall in love with these characters. You want to protect them. You want to save them. You want to, you know, wrap them up in some bubble wrap and just, you want to bring them home and like care for them.
You do.
So yeah, I think that's kind of like why this is gonna always be. It's not one that I talk about a lot. Like, I feel like it's not one I'm always being like, oh my God, this is like, I'm absolutely obsessed with this series. I would recommend it to everyone. It's one that I'm like, if you're on the same wavelength as me and you love being emotionally devastated, because of the trigger warnings in this book, it's not going to be one that I'm going to shout from the rooftops that everyone needs to read, because I don't think it's going to be for everyone because of the themes that we see in the story. But yeah, definitely if you're looking for that emotional devastation, you want your heart and soul ripped from your body, go ahead. Because that's like literally what this does. There's not a lot. There are moments of like positivity, but you are deep in the crux of trauma. So
you definitely use that side character that brings the humor as like
a relief.
That is the epitome of needing that type of a character. And so I can see why.
And he is so needed in the story as well.
He's fucking funny too.
Yeah, he's hilarious. Yeah. I also do just love Irish people. Like, when I was listening to
just Irish people?
No, like Irish like voice actors. Like, when I listen to audiobooks, my word do I love an Irish voice actor. And I'm not someone that like listens to audiobooks for every single book that I read, and I just absolutely obsessed over the voice narrators in this story. So
except they sounded like they were like 35 when they were
that's
supposed to be 17.
Yeah, look, I'm going to ignore that.
We'll ignore that. We'll just pretend that they sound older in Irish. In Irish in Ireland. Yeah, let's
not talk about ages or anything, and I know that's a big thing for you. I'm just going to ignore and just sit in my little bubble over here of being like, I love.
My next one, what like little area of my brain have I not really
explored yet?
Let's go with Dark Rise and Dark Air, which is a new edition, and
this is fresh. You're getting fresh feelings and thoughts. And
I only finished this like a week ago.
The first knot is sewing itself.
It is, brain. Yeah. The neurons are like firing together. It's not complete. I think we're waiting on one more book in the trilogy. I'm trying to figure out why this book is different. I guess I
haven't read it, so I can't like.
Yeah. I guess it is just. How do I explain this? The plot in itself is very much like if Lord of the Rings was brought into like 1800s London, which sounds kind of really strange, but it's like a king that was really, really bad, got defeated many, many years ago. Yeah. Everyone's kind of forgotten that he was the Mad King or like the Dark King or whatever the hell. What's he called? Sauron in the Lord of the Rings. Picture that, but it's like, okay, all that dark magic is gone, but then there's a slow resurrection of that dark magic and he wants to be reborn again. Okay. And that's kind of, you're following the timeline of he's expected to come, and you're following the people who are literally just like generations of people raised to be ready to fight him when he comes back. And the characters that you're following, I think it is technically YA, so it's not an adult book, but it reads almost like an adult book. And this is where I have a lot of connection to the characters. There are some like sassy diva level like side characters that are so like, I'm trying to picture like or like put him. Do you remember Enzo in the Vampire Diaries? Yeah. Very much like an Enzo, but even more sarcastic kind of a character that is one of the love interests. And It is just one of the most her vocabulary, or their vocabulary. I actually haven't looked up C.S. Picard. Sorry, I didn't say the author's name. C.S. Picard. I haven't actually looked them up, so I don't know if it's a male or female, or non-binary.
Or a duo, or whatever.
Or it could be it could be two people. So I'm just gonna say they, just because I don't know. But their vocabulary is the most exciting thing I've read in such a long time. I was learning so many new words, and I was having such a fun time. And just like every time I'd click on it, I'd be like, oh my God, that's the perfect word for that sentence. Like, how did you know about that word? I don't know. It didn't feel like she was, or they were using a thesaurus either. It just felt like it was there. And this plot, every character felt like they had such a unique moral lens of why they were doing what they were fighting for. Like, there were some people who like didn't really care whether or not, and some people were doing it purely for power. Some people were defending just because their parents told them they should be, and that's how they'd been raised. So it was blind. Other people had opted into wanting to fight for the good people. Other people had switched over to the bad side. So you're getting such a collection of like young adults, because I guess they're young adults. Yeah. All trying to decide where they sit morally with this whole situation, but then bandy together doing what they think is right, and like how they're going to fight this. And there's such an insane plot twist at the end of book 1 that I threw my Kindle. I threw it. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, that is insane. It was just the most fun I have had reading a duology in such a long time, where I went, no page count was wasted. I didn't feel like any deviations or characters didn't make sense. Like, I just thought this was so well done. I will scream it from the rooftops. And I don't know what it is that is itching in my brain, other than it just feels like maybe like how I don't.
This might be maybe like how you like to be more of a character-driven reader, because I feel like you're normally very much a plot-driven reader, and like you're trying to
character as well. Like it's actually, you're more seeing it. I guess that of course is a plot going on, but you're actually experiencing the plot through the characters.
Also, each character going like always kind of standing up for their morals, I feel like is a big thing that you like too. Like I feel like you don't like, and like when they evolve and like they have to question what they feel, which was very there's similar things going on in the Mistborn series as well. Right,
like, so I think there's something going on there. There's like something I really enjoy, and the world is tight, the magic is tight. Yeah. Everything is just so connected and thoroughly thought out, and it's just interesting. It's vivid. I would love to see it to be I love how I say that for everything. It's like I'd love to see it, but I think it could make a great TV
You're like,
show.
I visualize this perfect in my head. It should be a TV show.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. It's so good. It's one of those ones.
I've never thought to pick this up, and now I'm like super intrigued, and I'm like, obviously we're still on a book buying ban, so I can't.
Still on our book buying ban. It's one of those ones where it's like the plot twist is so good that I know that if I said it to anyone, it would sell them on reading it, but like the experience of knowing the plot twist is part of finding it out is the joy.
Is it like the plot twist of like Crescent City 2 plot twist? Like that?
It's one of those ones where you're like going, how the living heck are these people? How is this going to possibly unfold from here? Like, how is this author going to pull this off?
That's a great way to finish book 1 too.
Yeah. And then book 2 as well. We've just finished it off, and we're waiting on. There's no news of book 3 if it's been written.
I've heard all about this.
If you're by any chance watching CS Picard,
whoever you are,
start typing right now. We're waiting. So phenomenal. The relationships are also just really interesting. Like there are a few they're not.
It's giving. When I think about it, I'm like, I know it's like in no way similar in any shape or form, but it's giving me like the breakdown of like the Naturals dynamic, where there's like so many different like characters, how they're all kind of coming together as a group, and
it's a bit like that in the sense of like misfits are all trying to figure out, because they're all just like either orphaned or whatever, and like they're all just finding their place in how they can help or not help in these situations. But the romance, or like it's not even really a romance, it's more like this just like connection. It's a queer, like the main couple is a queer, and oh my god, it is just like this sassy tension where it's like one of them's a villain, and it's like, and it's so freaking good. It's just so good. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up now because I don't know how else to talk about it other than just telling you all to read it. But
I feel like this is just itching the character driven part of you, where you don't always like because you love a plot driven story, but I feel like when you do get a character driven story that you're reading, this is the type of book that you want to read.
I feel like the characters kind of are the plot. The characters are the plot.
And you don't often enjoy stories where that is the case. So I'm so glad you found like your little niche where
it's so
you have. Yeah.
I know. Anywho,
you're getting me very excited.
I really think you would. I think you'd love it.
Okay, I'll have to add it to my list. Okay, I'm going to go with this next one. And then I'm going to save one of the best for last.
I think we have one still outstanding that's the same.
And I reckon it's the same. Anyway, I'm going to go with Immortal Dark. And I know we just kind of talked about this, because you're kind of like, I don't know if this fits into the category of like etching itself into your brain and going to be your best book of all time situation. But I think for me, this is like more targeting to, it's a very niche part of my brain where it's like, I'm kind of getting into my like shadow self, or like the darker parts of my brain. And it's not somewhere I always love to be. It's just something that like, and it's not something I've ever, I guess, explored. Like I don't read a lot of like dark romance. I don't read a lot of like super dark fantasy. I say that as I'm reading a dark fantasy right now, but it's not like some sort of, it's not a genre that I generally gravitate towards that's super heavy and dark in that aspect. But this just literally, it has etched itself into my brain and it's stuck there in its own little pedestal. And every time I think about 5-star reads, this is one of my most memorable 5-star reads. Again,
it's so good.
It's not one of those that like, there's certain parts of the story that like stick out to me, or I could give you a back-to-back idea of what the synopsis is. And particularly, I guess it's like a dark, I don't know if you guys know what it is, but Immortal Dark by Tigger Skirma is a like dark academic, not necessarily fantasy, but it's like sitting in a university style society where there's like houses, and to be as a part of this society and be a house at this, in these houses in these universities, you kind of have to be invited. Like it's like a secret society type of situation.
It's kind of like a founding family situation a little bit as well. It's like you inherit what your parents are a part of, so it's kind of like the original 81 houses or families or whatever it is. They all stay part of it, so it's all very like generational as well. So it's like this secret society. So we're following our female main character who, her sister has gone missing, and to figure out who has, like, she has an idea of who she thinks may have taken her sister, and he's the vampire that's associated with this house that she technically inherits. So she has to kind of be to kind of figure out if he is the one that's taken her sister. She goes into this house in the university society and has to live in the same house as this vampire for, is it a year? Yeah, they've got a year. They have to graduate to be able to inherit the house. Yeah. So, you're kind of getting a bit of forced proximity in that situation. But they hate the living crap out of each other. And I think that's what I loved so much about this story is obviously the vampire that we get in this story. And she's human, by the way. So, but they kind of have to live. They have to live in tandem together. Like the whole society is set up so that humans and vampires, one can't necessarily overpower the other. They're dependent on each other. So there's no power imbalance per se. They kind of have to deal with each other. Which is a great situation when you hate each other to be in, where you have to kind of live amicably as much as you can in a house. Because he wants the house as well. Yeah. Because he thinks he's entitled to it because he has lived there while she wasn't obviously around. And so, they're both kind of thinking, well, no, it's mine. And so anyway, I think like mostly it's targeting that, darker part of my brain. Because it is dark. It is very dark. And it is very like, it's very, not necessarily sensual, but like, I don't know the word I'm trying to come up. There's a word. It is sensual. Like it's not spicy. No. It's done all in like, I don't want to say smoke and mirrors, but you kind of don't get exact open door scenes or things. No. It's very, I think mysterious. Sensual, it's very just like, I think sultry is probably the word I was after. But I just think like, I don't know if this was a point in time where I'd read a lot of enemies to lovers where, it was like, okay, they got together in halfway through the book. This is like pure enemies. Like when we're getting down to the crux of like, they're not even lovers. It's just like enemies to accomplices. Maybe an alliance. Like it's literally just like, but you can like, I remember like this, I could like physically feel the hatred off the page. Like I could feel it, and it was just like so satisfying to actually have characters that dislike each other, because like you get like, normally you get characters that dislike each other and they're just kind of bantering and you're like, okay, you're starting to warm up to each other and you don't actually hate each other anymore. And it's I feel like, I hate you, and it's like, okay, what do they do to you? I don't actually feel the hate. I get that you're saying you hate them, but in this book I felt it, and I think it was they're like loathing it had been a hot minute since I actually had read any type of like, dark academic fantasy book where two characters actually hate one another, and it was just such a satisfying read. And it was a debut book to make that like, and in this society where people do want that quick fix, I suppose, it was like very game of her to make that step where you're like, I'm not gonna make this be such a huge
plot or point of like this first book in a fantasy.
Yeah, the fantasy definitely is like a backseat. Yes, it's like simmering, but it's not. There's so much plot going on with the school and the university and like following Kadan and her graduation process that, yes, of course that's there, but there is so much more at large going on that it's like, I like that she didn't just go, okay, enemies to lovers, forced proximity. Like it doesn't at all ever feel like she's doing a trope checklist, and if she is ever hitting a trope, it's always done in a really unique way. And oh god, it's so good.
I feel like it's one of those stories where you're kind of not following along, and then like some plot point happens, and then okay, we're going to work on to the next plot point. It's like they're kind of interwoven so much throughout the story that's like, okay, you've been reminded of one plot point, but some other plot twist is going to come up, and then you're going to like trying to be figuring out both of those, and there's like multiple things going on at the same time as you're like feeling this hatred, and you're like, I trust no one in this book. I literally trust zero characters, and I'm like, who am I meant to like? Who's gonna like turn on one another? Who's gonna be like, I actually
good luck, babe. Like it's just everyone is just trying to figure
Ainsley's read book 2 and I haven't read book 2 yet, so I really need to. I think in terms of like characters in this setting and this book itself, I feel like I haven't really read one that's had such an impact, and it kind of sits in a category in its own in my brain that I haven't, like, I'm not a huge dark academic reader to start with, and ones that I have read have been very miss for me, but in this some way, like, because it does have like such a like interesting, and I've just gravitated to these characters so much that I just feel like it's always going to be one that I just, no matter what, it's just like, I just remember having the absolute best time reading this. So, anyway.
It really is. It's that girl. Okay. I am excruciatingly trying to pick between the ones I have here.
How many have you got left on your never-ending list?
I deleted 2. I have 2.
We also didn't talk about our honourable mentions.
We'll do it at the end, I think, because I want to explain myself and why some of these have not appeared in my list. But okay, the next one that will go, I don't really have a label for this one. It's not really my shadow. It's not really anything, but I do think Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid.
This is my last one too, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, let's open that can of worms.
Yeah.
It's not really my shadow. It's not a comfort. It's one of those just very human. I think it's one of those like when I was saying that I love to be able to walk a minute in or walk a mile in someone else's shoes and have another experience that I would not get to experience. I'm not going to ever get to live in the 80s. I'm not going to ever probably venture to space. I don't have those sort of pursuits in my mind in my future. And this just was, I mean, we can both talk about it. It was beautifully written. It was ambitious. It made you think as well. Like, it wasn't just like a surface level. And not many of Taylor Jenkins Reid's books really these days are just surface level. But there really is just like a commentary always on just like whatever's going on for those characters in the greater scheme of just like at the time what conversations are happening. And this one,
I feel like there's a huge theme of misogyny in this. And
huge,
and like, what's the other word?
Women in male spaces and stuff like that.
And I feel like that really, like, that's something you love to, like, I feel like you find it almost empowering to see these characters like go against the grain, and I feel like that's what you love about like it's not just a romance. It's definitely, I wouldn't even, it's a love story, as she says. It's not actually a romance book, but it's not technically one of those. Anyway, sorry, I just jumped in there.
No, well, it's both of us, so we can talk about it. But I feel like we did a whole damn episode on it, so if you'd like to go and watch that, we have a whole 2-hour episode.
Listen
Listen to that one. It's on Spotify.
We cried for a lot of that too. Like, I feel like this was, I think when I like put this in our like hierarchy category of our DNA, I did put it in like the transcendent category.
It is transcendent,
because it's gonna just like span our life. Like, I feel like it's always there, but it also kind of like opened my mind to another aspect of reading that I didn't realize I absolutely loved. Like, I guess when it comes to like, I do love a good like literary fiction or general fiction story, but I do love it generally with a huge like romance undertone, whereas I feel like this is just like the whole story itself. Even though we get like a minuscule amount of romance, I feel like it is important, and it is, I guess,
it's fairly consistent through it. Actually, it's pretty consistent.
But when I think about it, I don't think about it as like the love story is very much important to the story, but I feel like this just, I think I just don't want to put a label on it being a romance, because I don't want it to be put into...
It's like reductive, a little bit.
Yeah, it's like I don't want to reduce what it actually is and what it brought to the table for us. Like, I feel like there's so much you can explore with this story, and it's just... Yeah, it's a masterpiece.
And the way that it's written as well, with the format being that, you know, it's like a then and now, and you know that the current now position that you open the book with is high stakes. People are dying in space, and you are then slowly getting to know these characters that you are realizing are in great, great trouble up in space.
Yeah.
So it's like this agonizing, like, back and forth of... No, like, you got, because when you first open it, you're going, well, it's sad, but like, who are these people? And then you start reading them and you learn them about all of their relationships together as a cohort of going through this NASA program together. And just then every time you get to a now, you're going, oh no, not that character. Like, I actually love that character now. And so it really is just...
It was kind of like deconstructing a book and just like giving you the heart of, like, because normally when you would read a story, you would get to, like, you would build up to this bit and then the reveal would happen. It's like you're starting with the reveal, you're starting with something heavy, and it's kind of like literally buckle in, because this is what we're gonna get. And I think the more you read and you did become connected to these characters, you could feel the impending doom just kind of develop, this pool of impending doom, and then she absolutely freaking obliterated my soul.
Oh my God. Yeah, I was going to say, I think out of all the books I've read this year, it'd be up there with like one of the top 2 books I've probably cried the most in, I think.
This was one I wanted to throw the book. I was finishing it with like Liam sitting beside me, and I
couldn't read it through the tears. I had to keep like wiping it away, and I was like, I just need to see the page. I can't see the page. Like, I need to know what's happening.
And there was like half a page left, and I'm like, oh no. And I was like, this is it. That's what I'd already told myself. I was like, accept it. This is it.
There's a reason she's called it a love story and not a romance, because a romance has to guarantee a happy ending. And I was like, this is buckle in. Yeah. So that was, and I've actually now recommended it to my mum, who has recommended it to her friends, and I recommended it to my brother's partner. She's now finished it, destroyed her on an aeroplane. So you're welcome.
Oh dear, so that's a rough place to read it.
You know, it's a good book when you are just giving it to anyone who will take a book recommendation. Yeah. So that is one of those books for me where I'm just like,
I feel like it kind of sits in the classic, like it's kind of like sitting there with how impactful like the classic books are, but it's not a classic. I am putting it came
out this year, but
but I just
if we
feel
could
like
make our own classics, there's a video idea. If we could make our own classics, I would put Atmosphere up there,
because I feel like no matter where, like in how many hundreds of years when we're not here, I feel like it would still have the same impact, and it's just gonna be like transformative. Like it's gonna be timeless.
We had so many conversations after it. My mum and I in the car when she finished it, she would call me and she'd be like, I just read this bit, and like we'd have these massive discussions about, you know, feminism and all the different waves and all the things that women have done to progress,
pave the
rights
way
and like opportunities for other women. Like there is so much going on in this book, and then the romance is also just to die for, though. Like,
I mean, a lot
of
the
most beautiful romances.
A lot of this change in society, and it has been happening when our parents were growing up. Like it's not like it was hundreds
my mum could
of
relate,
years ago. It was like it's within our parents' lifetime. So I think it's like knowing that this actually wasn't like a huge, like a long time ago.
This wasn't like the 1800s or the 1700s, and you know the steam engine was also being created. This was like not that long ago.
And also we still see the I'm trying to think of the word. I can't think of the word.
Well, this was only like about 12 years before we were born. 15 years before we were born, which is crazy.
It's wild.
So, anyway, so is that your last one?
I think it is. But I don't think I have really much to add to that, but I don't know if we really talked about what part of our brain it really, like DNA wise, it kind of like sits in for us. I just think
this is probably like my version of like when I want emotional pain, this is how I want it dished up to me. I suppose I want something where I'm feeling the humanness of being human. I feel like I think
this is
female empowerment or something.
I do really love the female empowerment in this. I do think this is more sitting in the category that I can't remember which book it was for you, but where I want to like almost learn a lesson and like a life lesson. Like I feel like that's kind of the type of book that I like to like learn a lesson. I'm like, okay, I want to see real life society, but obviously not right now, but in the past, like it was actually happening. Like this was actually
yeah.
happening.
It's kind of, well, it's
just
historical fiction. At
opening
the end of the
my
day,
eyes to that, because obviously we didn't live through that time. So I think that's kind of my version of that, where I'm like, and there's like political views and things like that going on. Like I feel like that's my version of wanting to read it more so in like a literary fiction romance type of way, rather than it just being so.
This is how you like it served to you. Yeah, because it is such an enjoyable process while you still then stop and think. And the characters are having on-page discussions about things that you're like, oh yeah, true, you need to really, like, that would have been a valid point to make at that point in time. Also,
these points that are being made are told to you throughout the story. They're not themes that you have to work out. The women are standing up and saying, this is what this is wrong, this is what we need to change, or we're not going to be pushovers, or whatever it is. And I really liked that, where you kind of see that in the story at a time where things do need to change. So I think I like seeing it in that way, where it is more of an empowerment type of thing, rather than like a slow evolution, or you just kind of like getting it not told to you, where you have to kind of like work it out for yourself, I suppose. Seeing it in an empowering way is probably what I was trying to say.
No, but I love that.
Yeah.
I think the only other category I had was just like fan fiction does something. That is a spot in my brain that I guess you would put Manacled, All the Young Dudes. I've read a plethora of other Hermione fan fictions in that space, but it is such a key thing that I have all year round, that I always go to, that we don't, obviously they're not books, I don't rate them, but they are such a, like, I learned how to book bind for them, so I mean that's a skill, a craft that I dedicated many moons to. So that is just some part of my brain that, like, no matter what trad published book does, there is something so special about fan fiction that I love the length of it. I love that I know for a couple of months I'm just going to get to live with these characters, and before bed I read like them each night, and there is just something about reinventing characters that you maybe already know, or like from a favorite TV show or a series or a movie, or maybe it's another book that you've read that you're now just reimagining the characters. It does something to me where you can look up any feeling you want with whatever character you want, and someone's written a story about it. Manacled will always be something I guess that was so formative. That when you're watching or reading your favorite books or series or whatever, I guess you're always kind of being like, well, two questions. You could be like, well, where are they now? And you kind of like always in your mind, you're like, oh, where would they be now? Or like if the story progressed further. Because it doesn't need to be marketed necessarily. Just because it's for fun, people just do whatever they want with it. And it's just so like, they don't have to hit plot point beats. It's just like, you just keep reading. So it's just, I don't know, it just has something in it.
And you're not reading it to judge it or to rate it or to break it apart. It's just like pure enjoyment.
In its most like pure form. So I feel like we should probably talk about our honorable mentions though, because I feel like there are a few on there that maybe one of us mentioned but the other didn't, or there was some altogether that I'm surprised weren't actually on there.
I'll start with Alchemized.
I was gonna say that was my next one that I was like, if one has to go, that will be the one that I got.
And it's an honorable mention because it is so good. It is such a great standalone fantasy series. It is worth every single page that you go through in that book. I feel like we just get, it's one of those like character driven story. There is so much behind the story and so much in the story, but for the journey you are pretty much following characters. And obviously we did read Manacled first as the fan fiction that's now it's been completely reworked into its own
magic system, world. The whole cahoot has been completely uphealed. I think for me the only reason is that it doesn't necessarily scratch an itch that I would want to keep going back to. It's not necessarily a part of me as a reader.
You sure you don't want to go back to all that trauma and the war?
Like I don't read that and then go, great, so what other books like it can I read? I feel like it's one of these things that stands on its own. That I don't feel the desire to keep replicating. Like I got from it was just specific to it.
It's very much in its own category.
That's the only reason, because I contemplated.
I agree with that though, because I feel like I don't think I'm ever going to go out of my way to be like, okay, I want a book like Alchemized. I don't think I'm ever going to walk into a bookshop and be like, right, give me a book that's exactly Alchemized, but I want it in a different format.
Yeah, I want extreme war, like terror, gore, trauma, like that's... Yeah, it's unique to that particular story. Yeah. Which I think we're going to do a whole episode on Alchemized. Yeah. So we'll go into our deep thoughts, because we both loved it. Yeah. But yeah, it was weird choosing between that and then other books where I'm like, I feel like it's more representative of just my taste. Yeah. I wouldn't say that like horror and dark, gory fantasy is like my taste. But that's the only reason it was left off for me.
Not itched a part of our brain, but it's up there, but it's not who we are.
It's almost like if there was like the brain and like all the bits that we've just described, and then there's like the brain stem, and it's just like by itself, but it's like there, and you only need one of them, and it doesn't need to work with multiple other brain stems. It's just by itself. That's kind of like what it is. It's like attached by proxy. But the very last one that I feel like I have to say, I know I'm so annoying because I couldn't work, but Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil.
I was waiting for a V.E. Schwab. We didn't get any V.E. Schwab, and you've been like absolutely obsessing.
I've been obsessing over her, and that book is like the epitome of my love for gothic romantic writing, like that slow paced, meandering.
Speaking of, let me interrupt. I'm interrupting. I'm surprised you haven't put this on the same wavelength as A Diary of Blood, because they
A Diary of Blood's written there next to each other. Okay. I was going to put them in the category, but then I realised I had 15 categories. Yeah. So this was my problem. A Diary of Blood and Bury Our Bones are like in the same caliber of 6-star. Like, it's just, there is something in that style of writing that I freaking love.
It's like the dark, sultry, sexy.
But it's also just it's very, it's not like she romanticizes life, but it's very, it's deep as well. Like, she kind of has these philosophical, meanderings, and her characters are always like quite flawed, but still quite beautiful. And she always writes like through the ages as well. So, they're like, I've read Addie LaRue and this one, and both of them span over centuries. And so she just does this beautiful job of like doing small life lessons without you even realizing that's kind of what you're learning. And Bury Our Bones obviously is gothic and fantasy because it's vampires. And so I feel like that would have to actually be a DNA level book, because I will, whenever I see like sultry or like gothic vampires, I will sprint at it, and or just like because I'm thinking all of some of my favorite books of last year and this year have been around that topic. So there is something in that it probably should jump up to DNA level.
Do you feel like it's like kind of touching on like a very atmospheric type, like you kind of feel very like absorbed in the story, like in a different way that maybe like it's fantasy,
my shadow, because I didn't have a shadow one. I feel like this would be like my shadow self, like
a dark part of your brain that you just like, I just love tapping into this because it just hits in such a different way. But
it's such a different like topic. Like, you know, immortality and undying and what that does to the soul. They're always looking at like how people slowly get corrupted by being immortal. There's something about it that I love. And it's always just done in the most like, sultry way as well. So there's something about it. So V.E. Schwab for sure has made it up there. So just pretend I said that up earlier when I was labeling them. I just was trying to cut it down for the sake of not having 8 billion. So that was the last one I wanted to jut in there really quick.
But I think that's pretty much all of the books.
That is our DNA makeup.
Yeah, which is crazy. I know I am a basic bitch at the end of the day.
You're not a basic bitch.
I will die on that hill because these books are popular for a reason. But I feel like we did have very similar, like we said, we have very similar tastes. We may like them for very different reasons, but at the end of the day, we do enjoy
very similar caliber of books, similar genres, similar writing styles. So
which is why we're in a book buying band, because that is why we are such bad influences for each other when it comes to
she'll just say, I think you'd like this, and I'm like, no worries, I'll go to Big W later. No second guesses, I'll just go. So that is our makeup, and I hope that gives you a better insight into kind of what we look for, what we like, and like what are the pillars of like who we are as readers and as podcast hosts, so that you guys can have a better idea of like whether or not you align with someone's recommendations a bit heavier, because you're like, oh okay, I liked a lot of those ones. So hopefully that just helped you a little bit more. But
that is
everything
fortnight's episode.
Long yap session. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you are on any of the platforms, whether that be YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, it would mean the absolute world to us if you were to like, follow, subscribe, whatever you're able to do on each of those platforms, because it helps push our videos out into the algorithm more. It can help find other bookish people who are looking for content just like ours. And it just, we really, really would appreciate it so much. And we just are so grateful that you all listen in every week. But that is
every fortnight.
From us. Fortnight now. I'm still getting used to saying that. I think you Americans, if you're over there listening, you guys say bi-weekly. You guys don't say fortnightly. You don't know what that word means. Every other week. So my friend was like, what does a fortnight mean? And I was like, okay, never mind. So anyway, that is us. And you'll hear from us again, I think 2 more times before the end of the year. So we have some very, very fun videos planned for the end of the year. Very reflective. Anyway, toodaloo, ta-da-la. Hope you had a good time. Bye.